with faces pale. The dragons are more fierce than fire, laid low their towers and how. In caverns dim we must away, every cold day, to win our harps and gold from him.
As they sang, the hobbit felt the love of beautiful things, made by hands and by cunning and by magic, moving through him, a fierce and jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves, and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in a dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarves shining in dark caverns. Suddenly, in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up, probably somebody lighting a wood fire, and he thought of plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill. And they were all looking at him with eyes shining in the dark.
"Where are you going?"
said Thorin, in a tone that seemed to show that he guessed both halves of the hobbit's mind.
What about a little light?"
said Bilbo apologetically.
"We like the dark,"
said the dwarves.
"Dark for dark business. There are many hours before dawn."
"Of course,"
said Bilbo, and sat down in a hurry. He missed the stool and sat in the fender, knocking over the poker and shovel with a crash.
"Hush,"
said Gandalf.
"Let Thorin speak."
And this is how Thorin began.
"Gandalf, dwarves, and Mr. Baggins, we are met together in the house of our friend and before the break of day start on our long journey, a journey from which some of us, or perhaps all of us, except our friend and counselor, the ingenious wizard Gandalf, may never return. It is a solemn moment. Our object is, I take it, well known to us all. To the estimable Mr. Baggins, and perhaps to one or two of the younger dwarves, I think I should be right in naming Keely and Feeler, for instance. The exact situation at the moment may require a little brief explanation.
This was Thorin's style. He was an important dwarf. If he had been allowed, he would probably have gone on like this until he was out of breath, without telling anyone there anything that was not known already. But he was rudely interrupted. Applied to any hobbit, even to old Took's great-grand-uncle Bullroarer, who was so huge, for a hobbit, that he could ride a horse. He charged the ranks of the goblins of Mount Graham in the Battle of the Green Fields, and knocked their king Golfimble's head clean off with a wooden club. It sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole, and in this way the battle was won, and the game of golf invented at the same moment. In the meanwhile, however, Bullroarer's gentler descendant was reviving in the drawing-room. After a while, at a drink, he crept nervously to the door of the parlour. This is what he heard. Gloin speaking.
"Humph,"
or some snort, more or less like that.
"Will he do you think? It is all very well for Gandalf to talk about this hobbit being fierce, but one shriek like that in a moment of excitement would be enough to wake the..."
Then Mr. Baggins turned the handle and went in. The Took side had won. He suddenly felt he would go without bed and breakfast to be thought fierce. As for little fellow bobbing on the mat, it almost made him really fierce. Many a time afterwards the Baggins part regretted what he did now, and he said to himself, "Bilbo, you were a fool. You walked right in and put your foot in it."
"Pardon me," he said, "if I've overheard words that you were saying. I don't pretend to understand what you're talking about, or your reference to burglars, but I think I'm right in believing," this is what he called being on his dignity, "that you think I'm no good. I will show you. I have no signs on my door. It was painted a week ago, and I'm quite sure you've